So this video is Charlie Kirk versus the Cambridge professor. I don't know who he is. Maybe they'll reveal his name later on. But this is a blind reaction. I haven't seen this one yet. Actually, he posted this video I think yesterday. So let's hear it.
Marvelous.
Can't find the mic.
Thank you. A very, very short question. Israel versus Hamas. Good guy versus bad guy. Russia versus Ukraine.
Okay.
Who's the good guy and who's the bad guy?
Both are bad, one is worse.
Okay, so the premise, the professor is asking Charlie, okay, Russia, Ukraine, war, who's the bad guy? Who's the good guy and the bad guy? So, asking Charlie Kirk. Because right now it's like the media is basically pertaining, pointing that Russia is the aggressor or Russia is the bad guy. That's basically it. Just like how Israel and Palestine and Israel and Gaza and the media and the whole thing is, pointing on Israel to be the bad guy, and Gaza is the oppressed. Israel is the oppressor. So this particular questions would be who's the bad guy, and then Charlie Kirk says they both bad, and Russia's the worst. So let's hear it.
Which way round?
Russia is worse than Ukraine.
Okay, so why haven't we pursued that?
Why we haven't
What do you mean?
pursued it?
Well, it seems to me that in the whole of the current US proposition, that Ukraine is being the bad guy.
In what way? We funded Ukraine upwards to $200 billion.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But
We just signed a mineral deal with Ukraine, not Russia.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you are expecting Ukraine to give up 20% of its territory to someone who invaded it.
Well, is Crimea part of Russia or Ukraine?
Ukraine.
That's where we don't agree.
Well, I'm afraid that's part of international treaty.
See, it's right away from the get-go is the disagreement. That's how the war starts. Majority of the war starts from disagreement. So, I think that what the professor, I already know what the professor's going through with this. Why is Trump is not helping, not full blown helping Ukraine to get their land back, or be at war with Russia, a full-blown war with Russia to help Ukraine. You can't. You know how many people is going to die doing that? That would be a bloodbath. I mean, it'd be a bloodbath if that happens. I mean, I don't think Russia is going to just play dead. You know what I mean? And I don't think America is just going to play dead either. So it's not even the United States war against Russia. It's against, it's the war against Ukraine. You know what I mean? So, yeah. Disagreement. That's how we started.
That's not up for grabs.
Well, it's interesting. I mean,
hold on.
Oh wow. I can see it now that this is not Charlie Kirk's territory, because every time I just noticed that the professor comes in and say hi, they cheered, couldn't find the phone and said the microphone, and said I found it now, whatever. They cheered. Now somehow he made his point that the Crimea is not up for grabs, and they all cheered. So this is not his territory. Yeah.
Well, I'm afraid that's part of international treaty. That's not up for grabs.
well, it's interesting. I mean,
hold on.
even Zelensky has said he's willing to give up Ukraine.
No. America signed the agreement that gave Ukraine Crimea.
Right.
when
and
the
Putin
Soviet
annexed.
Union ended.
Right. It was done. First of all, it never should have been done. It was largely ceremonial.
No, no, no.
But however, it was
shouldn't have
annexed
been,
under
it was
Obama.
done.
Yes, and it was a mistake, and it should be given back to Russia as a sign of good gesture to end this conflict.
Okay.
Who's currently controlling Crimea? Where was the Russian Navy headquartered in World War II? Where was the end of World War II signed? This is very
That's a lot of things. It's just his Charlie Kirk's throwing at him, and he's just confused. The professor just, well, wait. What do you mean? What do you mean? What do you mean at Crimea with the happens and Obama's annexing Obama? I didn't know that. I'm pretty sure he knew that. He knew that. But, yeah. So let's see. A lot of those people in the background who just, oh no, this professor is so smart.
I'm not doubting that. I'm just saying.
Of course you're not.
That if we're being logical on what has happened,
Okay.
that you are now arguing against that flow. And I don't understand it. Because actually, why is Ukraine the bad guy?
The bad guy. See, the thing, I don't think Charlie never said the bad guy. What he's trying to point out is there is no good guy and bad guy in that scenario because we're outside of it. You know what I mean? We don't want to participate on that. But if you want our help, just like how Ukraine dealt with United States when it comes to the minerals, and that's just not because they want to win, not because the United States want to win the war with Russia. They just want negotiation with Russia. You know what I mean? So it's like a leveling the playing field in the sense of, look, no one's going to win when both sides are, suffering from casualties. No one's going to win that because it's going to be an endless war. So what do we need to do? So, but he said that the professor is what he wants to do for Charlie Kirk is to pick a side, and kind of is questioning him. Why would you label Ukraine the bad guy? Clearly, Russia is the aggressor and the oppressor and the one that started it. That land grab, those like Crimea, the Obst, I forgot that region. They're the one the bad guy. So he wants the United States, especially the current administration, to help Ukraine to go full blown and oust or kick out Russia from Ukraine.
No, I said they're bad. They're not the bad guy.
Yeah, well, you said they were both bad, but one was more bad
Correct,
than the other.
yes.
So why is Ukraine bad?
Well, there's a lot wrong with Ukraine. First of all, they're not a democracy. Zelensky refuses to hold an election.
Well, no, he can't hold an election.
Oh, wait, did Churchill hold an election during the war?
Because under his constitution...
Hold on.
Okay, so what he was saying, that Zelensky do not want to hold elections because they still at war, which is questionable. Why did Zelensky declare war? Well, of course, because there was a war with Russia. You know what I mean? So, and by Charlie Kirk, but what he meant by Charlie Kirk's, what he meant by that is because in Ukraine they were supposed to have an election, and that kind of out the window because of what's happening now. So as long as Zelensky keep that up, because his rating is pretty bad in Ukraine. The Ukrainians want the new leader. So now by Zelensky having, have that war going on, there won't be no election. So that's what he meant, what Charlie Kirk meant, that he doesn't want, because he want to hold on to power. There's a lot of money to be involved in that. If you have a war like Ukraine, I mean, there's money pouring into Ukraine, when Joe Biden actually was in office. I mean, every time that Zelensky comes to the White House, comes to the United States, I mean, he'll go home with billions of dollars, and he was treated like celebrities. I mean, I've seen things as like they were signing like, those missiles and weapons. They even putting their signature on them. He's like a Hollywood. I mean, there's a video on YouTube that where Zelensky came from, how he became the president in Ukraine.
And Lincoln held election during the war. That's not true. He can call an election. He can call a snap election. He's full dictator of the country.
No.
Because he knows that the people of Ukraine would kick him out immediately because he's deeply unpopular. In fact, if he wanted to show a statement to the world, he would call an election and win by 80% and say, see, I'm super popular. So that's number one. I have a problem with that. I have a problem with a person being propped up as a government we're sending $200 billion to that refuses even to face his voters.
That's like what happened to, in the Philippines back in the Marcos. The Marcos regime back in the day, he put the country into a martial law. Therefore, there was no election. So... Same thing.
I can't agree with you factually on that at all.
Okay.
I mean, constitutionally, Ukraine is not able to hold an election because it's under military law at the moment, and that's just
of course.
A matter of fact.
Again, he can,
oh my goodness!
As a
really, you're gonna clap that?
President, he can do whatever he wants.
He can't.
Okay.
He
can't.
can't.
Sign an executive order.
This is like listening to BBC.
Change their constitution.
Okay.
Neither can the American president either. So hopefully there's a bit of...
He could even do...
Would you guys stop clapping? Oh my God! He didn't say anything smart. Oh, you're United States. They're not part of the United States either. Oh, blah, 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 blah. Cheap version.
Do a ceremonial election to see where he actually stands with the people.
I think we call those opinion polls.
Yes, and they're very negative.
Firmly ahead in the opinion.
Again, but you would agree that a person that holds on to power without the election of...
Even the Ukrainian themselves, they knew where this guy came from and how he became the president of the United States. I mean, the United States. The president of Ukraine. The dude was like a soap opera actor or whatever, some of those Hollywood thing in the Ukraine. Yeah, so he pretended to be a president, and I think he won that way. And then now they have Ukrainians have this buyer's remorse kind of thing.
The sovereign is pretty questionable.
No, not in those circumstances.
Okay, then we disagree.
No, okay, that's fine. But give me another reason why
They are the most corrupt country in Europe that never even met the most remote standards of joining NATO. Do not know where a lot of this money is going.
I don't disagree that there is a problem with corruption, but the most corrupt country in Europe, are you sure about that?
I'd have to think. I'd have to double or triple think about that, but they're very corrupt.
Okay, so that's a little bit doubtful. It's not absolute.
Well, I mean, would you?
They're corrupt. Okay, the professor admitted that they're corrupt. He wants to make sure. What do you mean, the most corrupt? Aha, I got you now, because they're not the most corrupt.
Corruption around. I mean, let's face it. We are talking about comparison with some of the states you're doing business with in the Gulf.
Oh, of course, but we're not giving them money. They're giving us money. That's a difference, right?
Aha.
Saudi Arabia.
Oh, so it's fine.
Well, hold on a
so
second.
It's morally acceptable to take money from corrupt people.
Well, hold on. First of all, as far as morally acceptable, you do what's best in the benefit of your country.
Yeah.
And so, for example, we were allied with Russia during the Second World War, and I'm glad we were. And I would ask you,
Don't forget.
How much money is too much money to send to Ukraine? We're at $200 billion right now.
I don't think you have to send any more money to Ukraine.
We agree.
I think you have to agree to support them as a free country and perhaps sell them weapons, like you're very happy to sell weapons to less free countries. And I think Europe will pick up the slack, as we all...
Europe will pick up the slack. How long has it been Europe hasn't been picking up the slack in NATO? Who pays NATO majority of that money? Yeah. Take a look at that. Why are we even part of NATO? Why is the United States part of NATO? Why was NATO formed? To protect from who? From whom? USSR, but yet Germany, France, and all of them is working with Russia. That we're supposed to protect from. Make that sense. Make sense. It doesn't make sense.
I disagree with some of the comments about Europe not looking after its own security. I just don't get this approach, which was supposedly to end the war quickly, which now seems to be elongating it, and in doing so, throwing up a smokescreen of very variable facts, if they are facts at all, about how things occurred, which actually isn't helping things. And if people can't see that Putin is stalling, I'm just really
I agree with you.
surprised.
I think he might be stalling.
And therefore, and I think even your president has acknowledged the fact that he thinks he might be stalling.
That's correct. So we don't have a disagreement there.
No, we don't. No,
We just have a disagreement about the efficacy of tactics, and we don't know. And I'm willing to say we could be wrong.
No. Oh, well,
Of course, you could be wrong in life.
yeah.
I mean,
we could all be wrong. But actually bringing that war to an end consistently actually isn't going very well. And I would just suggest to you that whatever tactics have been used are perhaps not the best. And they are certainly inconsistent with what's going on in the Middle East and how America has been treating parties in the Middle East. But I've had enough of your time.
fair. No, that's a fair contention. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much indeed.
Did you guys get anything out of that? So the professor does not like how we handle, or does not like President Trump handling the Ukraine war. I think that's what it is. Correct me if I'm wrong. But anyway, that's it for now.